The decision by the Jammu and Kashmir government to recommend compensation for Burhan Wani's brother, where it is now believed that the brother may have been killed in an encounter that was because of an excess use of force. The Chief Minister has defended this decision today, saying at a public meeting that while a militant can be judged, his family or his brother cannot be termed a militant just because he had a relative who was one. However, in this age of Patriot games and where nationalism is at the forefront of our conversations, does this indicate a BJP-PDP flashpoint, or does it underline their essential clash of ideologies? How in particular will the BJP respond? On the program today, GVL Narasimha Rao of the BJP is with us. Sohail Bukhari, who is of course a senior journalist, also has advised Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti, is with us. Farooq Abdullah, former Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, is with us. With me in the studio, General Atta Hasnain, who has been a General Officer commanding in the Kashmir Valley, and Sushil Pandit, commentator, Kashmiri Pandit in exile. GVL Narasimha Rao, how does the BJP see this? How do you even disassociate yourself from a decision where it is the BJP leader who is the Deputy Chief Minister of the state? Mehbooba Mufti today says a militant's brother is not a militant. You cannot club them. Do you agree with that?
Barkha, I think it would be erroneous to say this is a decision of the government. I think let's place the facts correctly. This is a recommendation made by Pulwama district collector.
Yes.
And they have sought objections from individuals and institutions. Whoever doesn't agree with this, with the names for the compensation or ex gratia relief, they can go ahead and file their complaints.
But the Chief Minister agrees with it, sir. The Chief Minister agrees with it. She has said so publicly today.
No, then if the Chief Minister had already made up her mind, this would not have been, people would not have been asked to give their opinions. Chief Minister has expressed her opinion possibly, but then this is not a final decision. There are institutions, individuals who can file complaints and who can offer their own opinions. A final decision will be made only after such information has been made available to the government. So as far as the facts go, the opinion of the armed forces, the security forces and his involvement in the entire operations would certainly be a part of the decision making in this regard. And this is not a decision that has already been made, and it's a decision that can only be made after opinion is sought from different stakeholders.
But you are saying this is not a done deal, but I am saying again to you that the Chief Minister has underlined which side of the debate she stands on. Let me bring in, before I go to Farooq Abdullah, Sohail Bukhari, media consultant to the Chief Minister. Sohail, where does the government stand on this? We heard Mehbooba Mufti very clearly today say a militant's family member is not a militant. To me, that indicates what she believes. And to me, it also means that when the army had called Khalid Wani a overground militant worker, that stand today is being contradicted if the government were to go ahead and take this decision.
Well, Barkha, I would say that, if you as a reporter would have been there where Mehbooba Mufti made a speech, maybe the kind of analysis that you are drawing of that speech would not have been same. I would say that this is manufactured, confusion that is
so why don't you clarify what is the position of the government? What is the position of the government?
Yes, let me tell you. It's in such cases, it's not a decision that is taken by the Chief Minister or for that matter any individual per se. There are set mechanisms that have been put in place. It's not only about Pulwama and it's not only about now. This has been a mechanism which is in place across Jammu and Kashmir, and it has been there for years.
Yes.
Now, according to the mechanism, the Deputy Commissioner of the particular district is the ex officio chairman of the District Screening and Consultative Committee.
Yes.
It also has representatives from various police and security agencies. Every case comes in and then it's discussed threadbare. No final decision can be taken.
So, but what did Mehbooba Mufti say today? You say I was not there at the spot, Sohail. You say I was not there at the spot, but she definitely did say that we have to differentiate between a militant and a militant's family. Did she not say this? And what was the context for her to say this if it was not this controversy? Wasn't this the backdrop that she was speaking against?
Let me just also give you that context. I think it's a universal statement what she made.
Not about Burhan Wani's brother.
I don't think that anybody on this panel, don't listen, I don't think there is going to be anyone on this panel or otherwise who would disagree with this, the spirit of this statement, that if there is a militant, his family definitely is not to be seen as militant as well. So there has to be this distinction for one and all dealing with them. I do not know why it is being clubbed and turned into something.
So you're saying she was not talking about Burhan Wani's father. She was making, I beg your pardon, brother. She was making a universal statement, but it's come one day after this story hit the headlines. And I want to get Farooq Saab, but I want GVL Rao to come in briefly, because when Farooq Abdullah earlier last week spoke about working with the Hurriyat conference, the BJP attacked him. The BJP has in the past accused him of working for a separatist agenda. GVL Rao, but in the face of your government possibly accepting this recommendation, in the face of the Chief Minister saying a militant is not to be conflated, with the family should not be conflated with a militant, do you still have that stand to attack Farooq for his statement?
Absolutely. I don't see these are two different things. Here you have a state government which is on record saying that this recommendation is recommendatory in nature and a final decision will be made only after all feedback comes in.
Okay.
So I don't find anything exceptional about it. And also as a general statement, you cannot penalize an entire family for one individual as long as it is made as a general statement. I think nobody can take objection to it. But in reference to this particular case, I think what the army believes, what the army's opinions are, what the general public's views are very important. They will have to be taken on record, and only a decision can be made after such feedback comes in.
Okay, let me bring in Farooq Abdullah. Farooq Abdullah, you found yourself in the eye of a storm for actually reaching out to the Hurriyat, asking them to unite, say we are not your enemies, we'll work with you. You were dubbed a separatist. You were reminded that in the past you have had an alliance, which many watchers of Kashmir will forget, with Mirwais Omar Farooq's father. It was called the Double Farooq Alliance. Now you have this entire storm brewing around Burhan Wani and his brother. How do you see this debate?
I think it is what the Chief Minister has problem with her. The BJP is North Pole and PDP is South Pole. They will have differences. Obviously, they'll have differences. But I can tell you one thing very clearly before Mr. Rao, that one day Mehbooba Mufti will also join the ranks, as I have joined, to fight for the cause of the state. That political solution has to be found of the problem of the state. And in that, I think we are all one, that Government of India will have to talk to all stakeholders.
Yes.
For final settlement of this tragedy that is called Jammu and Kashmir.
Do you believe, Farooq
and Mr.
Saab?
Rao, I would like to tell him also that Government of India one day will have to talk to another stakeholder, which is Pakistan.
Barkha, can I come in?
Yeah, please, Mr. Rao, go ahead. And then I'll come to General Hasnain. Yeah.
No, Farooq Saab, I think what really surprises people is that the parties in Jammu and Kashmir speak one language when they are in power, and they change their tune when they are on the other side, when they are in the opposition benches. Honestly, this is what hurts a lot of Indians. We are all Indians, and I don't think you dispute that fact at all. You have been a nationalist yourself. So this government was keen. We have engaged Pakistan right from day one, even before the Prime Minister was sworn in. And you have seen how Pakistan backstabbed India. And today, you continue to speak in favor of Pakistan. That is what hurts a lot of people of this country. Please call a spade a spade. Please call Pakistan out for its misadventure.
I'll allow Farooq Abdullah a brief response, then I really do have to come to my studio guest. Farooq Saab, please.
Please. I'd like to tell Mr. Rao, it is not today that we are talking one language in Delhi and one language in Kashmir. My son, as Chief Minister, as a party member, spoke when the railway was inaugurated in Anantnag before the Prime Minister of India, that this is a political problem and has to be settled politically. So don't say we are speaking two languages or two things, one in Delhi, one in here. What is wrong in trying to talk to everybody? In your own working agenda of the two parties that are in government in Kashmir, they have said we have to talk to all stakeholders, including Hurriyat.
But I want to come
so
back
why
to
are you blaming Farooq?
But
Why are
let's
you
come back to
calling
what we're
Farooq
discussing.
anti-national?
That's a good point. Why is Farooq Abdullah being called anti-national
No,
when a J&K government then may possibly give...
Barkha.
One minute,
No,
Sohail,
Barkha.
GVL, let's give the others a chance to speak. General Hasnain, let's come back to what we're discussing. I think Farooq Abdullah raises a reasonable question. Farooq Abdullah is called anti-national for saying, let's talk to the Hurriyat. Journalists like myself are trolled because we factually said Burhan Wani's father is a government school headmaster, which by the way is just a fact. It has no value attached to it. But if Burhan Wani's brother is indeed given this compensation, and while Sohail may say that Mehbooba Mufti was making a general remark, the timing would make most people believe that it is connected. What message would it send out?
Firstly, Barkha, let me keep this contextual.
Yes.
But before that, I think Mr. Rao is not making any erroneous statement. I think whatever he is saying is virtually in sync with what the PDP is saying. It's only a marginal difference there of opinion of the finalization of the case as such.
Yeah.
I don't think the case has been finalized, as he very correctly says, because there is a huge procedural context to this. The district magistrate or just the deputy collector of Pulwama would have received this entire thing.
But the Chief Minister has indicated a political view on this.
She has indicated a political view, but I don't think the approval is there finally. Because this goes through a very big loop, I'm aware, that this whole thing has to go, there's a committee for it. And in the committee, there's an army officer also. The list will come to the local commander, who will then direct his officer. His officer will attend the committee meeting and certify it there. I'm not sure whether all this has happened yet, but more important, this is not just a simple case. This is the case of the brother of Burhan Wani.
Exactly.
Now, if that be so, this case will go beyond Pulwama DC. It will go to the CID. It will be investigated by the CID, and the army will get itself involved much more, because this has a larger context to it. And therefore, what I'm really surprised is that it is being treated in such a trivial manner, and that too at such a crucial time when we are just entering into a peaceful phase. Why are we unnecessarily raking up these issues?
So you're saying this issue could have been kept on the back burner?
4 or 5 years.
You're saying this issue could have and should have been kept on the back burner. Now, Sushil, there are ideological questions that arise here, right? And the fact is that Sohail can go on saying that Mehbooba Mufti's statement was general, but 12 hours after the Burhan Wani brother controversy erupts, it would be difficult for anyone to believe that.
Barkha, to hide behind the divisional commissioner or a district magistrate is not only a case of political cowardice, it is actually rank dishonesty. The political leadership of the state first lays down the policy. It is then that district magistrates and divisional commissioners start implementing it, generate risks, and then follow a procedure. Now, what was the policy? In 1994, just before the program, as I was reading out to you, it was essentially from a document of 1994, which is called SRO 43, where they say those who get caught in the crossfire or are victims, civilians essentially, even they will be compensated.
Civilians assumed to be innocent, and
Innocent.
having no militant links themselves.
Exactly, exactly. Now, that was the original policy of 1994 SRO 43
Yes.
delineated. In Mr. Mufti's first tenure as Chief Minister, he amended this policy to include the families of those militants who were killed, in order to differentiate, as Mehbooba Mufti says,
No, I
between
don't
the
think
militant
families, as
and the
far as I
family
know,
of
families
militants.
do not get any automatic compensation.
Barkha,
Yeah,
Barkha.
yeah,
This
Sohail,
is
Sohail, you can
SRO
correct me.
43.
Nahi,
I'm
Sushil.
on full
Yes,
responsibility.
Barkha.
Mangat
Sushil.
Ram
Barkha,
Sharma,
there are
Deputy Chief Minister under Mufti Mohammad Saeed, moved
that I
this.
want to make,
It is a
Barkha.
decision of that government.
No,
I can-
militants' families do not get automatic compensation. I think, General Hassan, can you
I don't
clarify
know.
that? They
No,
do
no,
not get
no,
automatic
no,
They go
compensation.
through a procedure. They go through a
That
procedure
procedure
like
has
this.
to reflect that there was either a fake encounter or a crossfire in which they were caught for no fault of theirs. And that is the debate here. The debate here is that when Khalid Wani was killed, his father alleged a custodial killing. He said there were no bullet marks on the body of my son. The army said he was going to meet Burhan Wani in the forest, and the army classified him as an overground militant worker. Now a committee will have to determine which of these two narratives is true. I'll allow you a final comment before I actually take this to back to Sohail.
Burhan Wani's family has produced two sons. One died in an encounter armed to teeth. Another died in clandestine circumstances going to meet with a classification that he was an overground worker of militancy. And now we are finding specious pleas to cartload 4 lakh rupees to his family as compensation, because there has to be a differentiation between militants and their families.
Sohail, come
It
in.
is lopsided.
Sohail, come in, then Farooq Abdullah, then JVL Rao. Sohail.
You know, apart from being a representative of an institution that I'm talking on behalf of, I'm also a Kashmiri
Yes.
who's seen the worst of times and really lived it through. My problem is that when people like Mr. Sushil Pandit come and make statements that are factually absolutely incorrect, you really
I challenge you to
nailed
Google
when
it.
you pointed out
Newspapers
that it's
have
not about
published
the
it.
family.
SRO
Mr. Pandit, you
43,
had your
J&K,
chance.
healing
Please,
touch.
please,
Please
just
clarify.
relax. Relax.
I am relaxed.
Relax. As yes, just listen. You made a statement
make
which is
factual-
actually
Let him
correct. Now
speak.
have
Sushil, let him
the
speak.
clarification. Yes,
Huh.
there is no policy which says that as per SRO 43, the same compensation would go to the family of a militant who was killed. Nothing like that exists. Mr. Sushil Pandit would like to peddle that and vitiate the atmosphere.
Okay, what
That
is the policy?
what
Why
he
don't you
usually
clarify
does, and
to us,
let the
Suhail,
people know.
when you said you're
Barkha,
speaking
this
as
is
a
part
Kashmiri.
one.
Ek
Part
minute. Let's take this forward.
Barkha,
you
Barkha,
said you're
that-
speaking not just as
that's
a
part
PDP, J&K government media advisor, you're speaking as a Kashmiri. What did you mean by that? What is the point you want to make
What
when
I'm,
you're Kashmiri
you know,
civilian?
it also means my, a feeling as a common Kashmiri
That?
it's not about somebody who's representing PDP out here.
Yes.
It's somebody. It is the thought and feeling of an ordinary Kashmiri on the ground, that it is people like Sushil Pandit who peddle lies, sting in TV studios
I take
and try to
objection
vitiate
to
the
it.
atmosphere, create wedge between
Subject
the
to-
people of Jammu and Kashmir and the rest of the country.
I
Okay.
think viewers can verify it
I
themselves
also
and know
want
who's
to respond
lying.
to what Dr. Abdullah had just said. We are really happy that he has admitted tonight on the show that after a long time he finally thought that this is what the real thing was, and he had to fight for the real cause of Kashmir. But I also want to underline that there is going to be no time in point where Mehbooba Mufti would realize that and do it, because she has been doing from day one whatever she has done politically till
Okay.
date
Farooq-
or would do
Farooq
from
Saab.
here on is precisely
Farooq
governed
Saab.
by the
Sohail, I must come in now.
the
Sohail,
feeling
we
that
have
she
to
has
move
to
on
do
and
it
get
for
other
the
people in.
people of Kashmir.
Farooq Saab, let me ask you a direct question. Do you believe that Burhan Wani's brother must be treated differently from Burhan Wani? And do you believe that if indeed this compensation goes through, it is the correct message to send out, given that previously the army had classified him as an overground militant worker, though his family has always maintained that he was tortured to death by the forces. So these are two very different competing narratives here.
Well, Shri Ji came here and he praised the Burhan Wani's
Yes,
father.
in an interview to me, he called the
And he
father
said
a
that-
pious man. Sri Ravi Shankar, in an interview to
Exactly.
me, called Burhan Wani's father
And
a
I'm sure
pious
that
man.
pious man,
Yes.
exactly, that pious man wouldn't lie. Now there is a battle between the army and the civil administration, whether he was an overground militant or not.
Yes.
And the government of the day has decided, as far as the chief minister is concerned,
Yeah.
that he was not a militant and he should be given, his family must be given compensation. I am not going to oppose it. It is her decision and the government's decision. Let the army oppose it
Yeah.
if they have strong
Proof, evidence.
reasons for
yes.
it.
Yes. GVL Rao, you must come in there, because the opposition in the valley, the main opposition, a leader as senior as Farooq Abdullah, says, I won't oppose it if the J&K government takes this decision. He also points to Sri Ravi Shankar, who did in fact praise Muzaffar Wani, the father of Burhan Wani. I would frame this question slightly differently, Mr. Rao. We are mandated by the Supreme Court to stand up for the anthem. People are beaten when they don't, they're arrested. We have a discourse which says that any sort of complexity about Kashmir is potentially anti-national. Why then should a government in which the BJP is one half endorse this decision if it were to go through? What happens to the BJP's very strident position on nationalism otherwise?
No, Barkha, I believe the security forces, particularly the army, the BSF, they are working in very trying circumstances, working in a hostile environment. Any decision to which they are a party, which they approve of, I would consider this this would be a nationalistic view, and anything which does not take their views and their concerns on board, I would certainly consider that an erroneous decision. And in this matter, the final word, I think I would rely on the judgment, on the investigation of the armed forces, and not on any political party or political or parties in power. Eventually, they have to take a call. And as per the existing policy, if the family deserves to be given compensation, and if the armed forces approve of it, I think we should have no qualms, no problem about it. But without taking them on as a stakeholder, any decision would be certainly erroneous. And this does not, shortlisting him for this compensation by no means proves any allegations against the army that this was a custodial killing. By no means this proves that this was a staged encounter. These are inferences conveniently being drawn by people which are completely fallacious. Whether he deserves compensation or not as per the existing policy, I think has to be decided by the security forces.
Sir, you've raised a very good point, and that's for General Hasnain, because Omar Abdullah, Farooq Abdullah's son, in fact raised this point, that if the compensation goes through, would it not mean that there would then have to be an inquiry, because Khalid Wani would have to be presumed innocent? That's the only basis on which he can get the compensation. Sure. So when GVL Rao says that you cannot presume anything about his innocence, doesn't the compensation mean, or would it not mean, if it were to go through, that he was innocent?
This is why, Burkha, I was saying, I think this entire case is being played out in a great hurry. And for what reason, I'm not very sure. Because for a case like this, the army would have definitely done its investigation at different levels. But the army is a party to the whole thing.
The army has not issued any official statement yet.
It's not given any official statement or anything like that. And it's a party to the killing itself. So it cannot be the final authority on investigation.
Okay.
The investigation has to be done by the local police,
right,
assisted by this local CID.
Right.
And that their word will finally carry.
So if the police says,
that's right.
If the police says
that there is nothing involved in this and that Khalid was innocent, then the compensation goes through. There's nothing in it.
No, but then that would mean that the army would then end with the compensation.
I'll tell you. That wouldn't necessarily mean that army liquidated Khalid. It could also be the case, because there is a lot of fratricidal killing. He could have been mistaken as some kind of an informer and killed by his own people.
Which is what was actually alleged in the beginning. That it was a mistaken killing.
So the point is, the person is mixed up, is double agent, is doing errands for militants, could be mixed up with as a police informer. The point is, the entire antecedents of this person are shrouded in mystery and has a miasma hanging over his head.
Hang on.
Barkha,
one minute. If Burhan Wani is a militant, does it mean that his father is also a militant? He's a government school headmaster called,
Sayyid Salahuddin's son.
Yes, Sayyid Salahuddin's son works with the government.
I agree
works
with
the government and was rescued by security forces when that building was set on fire by terrorists.
I agree.
In
Let me submit to you the irony of it.
Yes.
If the families of these militants are therefore judged as innocent and victims and ought to be compensated, will the families in Kashmir produce more militants, or will they send their boys to forces? If their sons are killed in militancy running errands and they get 4 lakh rupees as compensation,
let me come
not a penny has been paid to forces.
I'm taking last comments to start with General
I think there's a very important point.
Half a second, General.
There's a very important point he makes. And I think it goes against the spirit of the entire fight in the valley. You are ultimately looking for peace. And you are looking for not making more militants.
Yes.
What you're looking for is winning people over.
Yes.
Right? And therefore, labeling people on the basis of the family that a terrorist has been killed, therefore the whole family is a terrorist family.
Winning people over by throwing money at them?
No.
Sohail,
wonder whether it will work.
Okay.
You've
Last
thrown enough money.
Last comments. Sohail, 30 seconds, everybody. Sohail.
Burkha, the analysis that is being peddled by Mr. Pandit in this case is preposterous. Because what we are talking right now is not a compensation for the family of a militant who's been killed.
Yes.
No, we are talking about a compensation to the family of a person whose involvement in militancy may not have been proved, and he could have died as a collateral during an exchange of firing.
Yes.
There is absolutely no scope as for the current law.
Today's Mehbooba Mufti statement clarifies it very clearly. She says militant and his family have to be differentiated.
But he's saying he's not being compensated for being a militant. That's we have to be very clear.
Not this case.
Okay, GVL Rao, 20 seconds, then Farooq Abdullah gets the last word. GVL Rao, please.
No, Barkha, I think this is a discussion only for compensation. This does not prove anything beyond that. Whether he is entitled for compensation or not, let a final decision be made. Let me assure you, as a party in power along with the PDP, we would not be We would not be happy if our armed forces, if
Okay.
their morale is to be lowered, if they are a party to the decision to give compensation based on eligibility, we are for it. Otherwise, we will oppose it.
Okay, Farooq Abdullah, a brief last word to you. Do you stand by your statement in this environment to reach out to the Hurriyat conference and to work with it? Do you stand by that comment?
I stand by every single word, and I'd like to tell General Saab and all the other panelists, if you want peace in this valley, then you better start talking to all the stakeholders to find a final peace in this state.
Okay.
Otherwise, all this talking
Barkha, last
will
10
not
seconds,
end
please.
the
One last
destruction
word.
that
One
is
last
taking
word, Barkha.
place in this state.
Okay, I have to leave it here. We will have a different debate with Farooq Abdullah on his comments to reaching out to the Hurriyat conference on another day. Thanking our panel, General Hasnain, Sushil, Pandit Suhail, Bukhari, GVL Rao, and of course Farooq Abdullah. Thank you so much for joining us on the Buck Stops here.